Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? Your man, Dame DNYDC. Man, we cruising along. Seasons change. A lot of us are dealing with different things. Pandemic is still going on out here. And I'm gonna give you a little backstory about today's episode. So, we're sitting here, we have our weekly team meetings, and we're just kicking off ideas with the weather change, pandemic. People being sick, the flu, and one of the team members was like, well, you're diabetic. I'm a diabetic, and maybe talk about diabetes. And I was like, not like it's not serious or important. It's like, but maybe let's dig into something else. Like, what else is out here that people are dealing with that maybe is overlooked? We're not really aware of, or we don't pay enough attention to. I say, because that's really what the platform is about, trying to educate people on other things other than themselves, and try to highlight those things. So we're digging and kind of going through things, and we came across today's guest. Now, today's guest is doing some real amazing work, through her organization and her program. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring her to the forefront. Zuriel Gibson. She is doing some amazing work. Really love what she has to talk about. And I'm gonna step back for a second. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, your program, to our audience, and we're gonna just dive into this conversation today because I think it's really something that's, like I said, overlooked and not really talked about enough. So Zuriel, please go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me on the show. I am completely honored. My name is Zuriel Gibson. I am the CEO and founder of the Gibson Lupus ARC standing for Autoimmune Resource Center. So I'm a lupus advocate. I got diagnosed with lupus in 1997, little telling my age a little bit. I went through a horrible roller coaster as far as health is concerned, life woes, and all of that.
Mm,
And unfortunately, I was in the hospital majority of that time on several different medications. So
wow.
as I started to come out of the fog and do some things for myself and start to get a little better, I was like, I wasn't in the hospital as much, and I was like, you know what, God, there was a reason I went through this. Please tell me. And I started to see more organizations and businesses and certain type of doctors that were helping people with the day-to-day life. Now, true enough, we have a lot of organizations out there that raise money for the cure, which is something we need because
Mm,
there's still yet to be a cure. But we're not, there wasn't a lot of people teaching people how to live on a day-to-day basis with what they're going through. So I wanted to be able to connect people. So that's how this all got started, to connect people where they are with an organization that was right around the corner, a group or an organization or somebody, so that they wouldn't feel alone. Because
mm.
unfortunately, the suicide rate started to rise amongst the depression rate.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was because a lot of people were feeling like they were in this alone. It was a death sentence because there was no cure, and I wanted to people to have a different mind frame. So
Oh,
that's how
man.
the organization even just came about, you
Wow.
know. But to give you a little history about what
Mm-hmm.
lupus is an autoimmune disorder. Now your immune system is built to protect you from all kind of foreign bacteria or illnesses and things like that. But with lupus, your immune system is a little confused. So
Mm.
therefore it attacks all your healthy tissue.
Wow.
So it attacks the skin, it attacks the brain, it attacks the lungs, it attacks whatever it can attack that's healthy tissue. So
Wow.
it's confused. Instead of protecting all of those organs that it's supposed to protect, it attacks it as if it is a foreign object trying to mess with all your healthy tissue. But that's just a little bit about what lupus is and where we come from. So
I want to go back to a couple of things that you said. One, so I do understand, going through your challenge, being diagnosed and coming to the realization of what you had to deal with. Same thing for me. Finding out I was diabetic, almost losing my life. Due to complications of diabetes. Um, and going through that, and even before the show or starting the podcast, I went through a transition too. Like, and I remember saying this on the bed. Doctors in there looking at me. And I remember hearing the doctor say to my wife, "Well, look, I don't know. We're going on 5 days, and if this doesn't change, I don't know what to tell you." And I'm saying, and I'm looking at my daughter, she's crying, looking at my wife, and I'm like saying to the Lord, Lord, there's got to be something better,
Yeah.
for me on the other side. And I went through a whole period of maybe 5 years. I started another business, trying to help people in the community, and then for whatever reason or how things happen, George Floyd and all of these things happening, was able to spawn this platform
Hmm.
to really try to reach others who look like you and I. But you talked about lupus, and this is the part that for me as a diabetic, it never crossed my mind of the isolation of thinking of suicide. And I think a lot of us don't really realize how serious, like, what type of pain or affliction, like what really drives that, outside of the isolation to push you to maybe have those thoughts for some.
Well, question.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I'm just trying to get a better understanding myself, because I know there may be others that really don't understand, the pain or what comes with that feeling to push you towards that thought of suicide.
so imagine if you had a pain in your abdomen that just didn't quit.
Oh wow.
It's a continual pain that just doesn't stop, and
Mm.
you just keep going and going, and then they don't give you a good diagnosis of you'll live and survive. They actually
Wow.
told me I would die at 24.
Oh wow.
By the grace of God, I just had a birthday. I'm 44 years old. Yay.
Congratulations. Yes, congratulations, sister.
Thank you
Yes.
very much. But I mean, it's funny that you even started off like that because my story started with before I was even diagnosed. I was living in California with my father. My parents were separated, and I had got extremely sick.
Mm.
And it got to the point where all I could do was call my mom because
Wow.
I was losing my breath and I didn't know what to do. My mother was an LVN and she was here in Houston. And the only thing she told me to do was hang up and dial 911 after I explained everything to her. I had to leave the door open in order for the ambulance to even get to me because I was just so weak. I knew I wasn't going to be able to open the door.
Mm.
So I was laid out in front of the door waiting for the ambulance.
Oh wow.
I was coming in and out, going to the hospital, and I realized I know that because I kept seeing mountains. I love mountains. I'm a
Mm.
nature baby, and I just kept seeing mountains, and I wasn't scared. It just looked real peaceful, But I was
Wow.
still in a lot of pain. So they got me to the hospital. I finally conk out for the last time, and then next time I come to, my mother's in the room. So you just imagine. I mean, I was
Mm.
in California. She was here in Texas. She got there,
Mm-hmm.
So I was
Yeah.
out for a while. It got so bad that my veins, I couldn't keep an IV. They would pop. You ever
Oh
had
my
your veins
goodness. Oh my
so,
goodness.
it was just that sensation like being stuck, just keep continuously being stuck with the needle and then feeling like 1,000 needles are going through your arm.
Wow.
So, and that's just in the beginning. Imagine going through this for years on end and and there's nothing you can really do but stay drugged up. And then they treat you like a drug addict because you're
Wow.
just trying to get rid of the pain. And then on top of that, you feel like you're all alone when there's nobody around
Whew.
because my mother didn't take care of me. She actually took me to my grandmother's house, who didn't understand what was going on.
Mm.
All she knew is that I slept all the time, And she said, "Bed, the bed take your strength." So she made me get out the bed.
Wow.
I was just tired.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just not having someone who understood me, going through the pain I was going through, having brain fog, which is
Mm.
so you can't remember everything that's going on.
Right.
Not even, and I was straight out of high school, not being able to live a life that I thought I would be able to live. It's like I
Wow.
graduated, I'm supposed to be able to be like, woohoo, I'm free, job, life, everything. Nothing. Could not
Wow.
do any of that. So I honestly tried to commit suicide myself.
Oh my
They
goodness.
had me on several different medications, like a page and a half of medications,
Wow.
and to be so young, that's for any age, but for me to be so young and have to go through all of that and not truly understanding what's going on with my body because I can't even remember everything the doctors are saying. Eventually, God blessed me with a friend who came with me and he realized why. why I couldn't remember everything, because the doctors would come into the room late at night after I had my medication. So they would try to talk to me, and I was out of it.
Wow.
So it was unfortunate, but there were several doctors that had done that, you know,
Mm.
and it just gets really bad when you're trying to tell the doctor what's going on, and then they don't listen to you on top of
Mm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things, I have one story, a doctor not listening to me. She put me on a medication, it blew me up to 200 and something pounds. And I
Ooh.
was like, ma'am, I've never been this big before in my life. Could you tell me what's going on? I don't understand what's going on. She says, oh, it's okay, you're just fat.
Oh, wow.
No,
Well,
ma'am, I've never been this big in my life. I took the medication, and me not knowing what's going on,
mm.
so I stopped taking the medication. I lose the weight, and I go back to her. I go back to her like 3 months later, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you look so good. What did you do?" I said, "Stop taking the
Stop taking
medicine."
that medication. Okay.
And she looked at me and put in my chart that I was non compliant. So
What?
all the doctors started treating me as if I would not listen to them anyway.
What?
So just imagine all of these different things going through your head as someone young, not being able to really live life, because they
Jeez.
had me on all these different medications. And I literally had to stop taking the medication for maybe a day or two, even to get to a doctor's appointment, because at one point I couldn't even get out of the bed. As long as I was taking my medicine, I couldn't get out of bed.
Oh my
I
goodness.
made it to, because I was living by myself at this point, and I was able to make me something to eat and go back to sleep. And so it was just me and my own little
Oh
world. And when you get
goodness.
stuck in a box,
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
your head
Yeah.
mentally,
Yeah.
and there's no one really around, you tell me that ain't a disaster right there.
Right, and that's why I say, like, that's why I was really, I wanted to ask the question and draw that, because I think a lot of people don't realize, like you said, at that time in your life, being young, and although you had your family with you, you really, and it's important. A lot of people really understand having a health advocate that can speak for you, or
Mhm.
that is there to speak on your behalf. Because I went through the same thing. I remember going through my situation and my wife talking to my initial doctor, and he's going on, and I remember I'm humped over, I'm slouched over. I feel like I got the house in the world on my shoulder. I can't breathe. I can hardly talk. And I remember my wife just went up. She's like, look at my husband. She was like, when do you know this man not to be talking? 'Cause I'm always talking. It's the New Yorker. She's like, when do you know this man to sit here and be quiet? This man has not said 5 words in the whole. And my wife just lost it. So it does make a difference in having an advocate, and that's why I asked that question. I think a lot of people sometimes, when you don't go through a trauma or a trial and tribulation such as that, they don't. Sometimes we just shrug it off like, "Well, come on, you should have just said this, or you should have just did this." So I'm glad that you were able to share that story, because first of all, I was getting chills listening to it. But it needs to be shared, and I think we need to, uh, you know, just really hear and listen to what some of our people are going through, and really work to be health advocates, not, for those that we love. Because if you know that person is acting different or moving different or not doing what, you got to jump up in there like double dutch for them, and make it happen. So thank you for sharing that. But I do want to ask too, because I am somewhat ignorant to the topic, and all the other, you know subsets and things that may come with lupus. But I have to ask: is there more than one type, or is it just, I don't want to say blanket, but is it just across the board when it comes to dealing with lupus?
No, it is not. There's lupus of the skin. It's a
Okay.
discoid lupus.
Mhm.
Seal, for those of you who know Seal,
Okay.
Seal has lupus,
I
and
would know
that
that.
his face shows, his lupus.
Wow.
Then you have SLE.
Okay.
SLE deals more with that's the more common one, that deals with the organs on the
Mhm.
inside. You have drug-induced lupus.
Hmm.
You have I keep messing up the name. Natal,
Ne-
neonatal.
Neonatal, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
lupus. You know, is there? There are several, and I'm still researching, because they just came out with more different types of lupus. So yes,
And
there
when
is
and when
more.
you said that too, so the neonatal, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe a lot of women. How is it? So, lupus sometimes is it dormant, and sometimes you can women can become pregnant, and through that process, the lupus will flare up. I guess you say, or um,
It has been known that lupus will not flare until some people have gotten pregnant.
hmm,
But it also people might have it even before they know they're pregnant, because at one point they said you have lupus, you couldn't get pregnant. When I
hmm.
heard that, it was like a baby boom throughout the lupus community.
Wow.
I was like, well, I guess that wasn't true. Because everybody and their mama posting pictures of this beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful little baby boy or girl after the doctor said you would never have
Never have
children.
a yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that also leads me to want to ask because in my reading and when I really sat back and thought about it, my wife and I and our team were talking. It just made me want to ask. So it's kind of like a two-part question. And I'm just going to throw it out here. So one, does lupus affect men or women more? And the second part of that is it seen across maybe one ethnicity more than maybe any other?
10% men, 90% women.
Wow.
Mostly um, across the board for African descent.
Wow.
Um, you see more people who have more pigment in their skin.
Mm-hmm.
So there's people, I mean, from all over the world that have it. But it seems to be that the more pigment in your skin, the more
Hmm.
accessible you are, even though everybody can get it. You have
Wow.
Caucasian, there's a large number of Caucasian people that have it, but the main numbers are geared towards those of color.
Wow. So then it just leads me to ask in your research and the work that you're doing though, I mean, has this been traced to anything and I'm going to assume I hate to use the word assume, but this is genetically based, something that, is more just they in our genes. Uh
They have not answered that question.
they haven't. Wow.
Yes. So, because you can have one person in your family that has lupus, that has been diagnosed with lupus, let me say that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can have several people diagnosed and then one person who's not.
Wow.
And then a lot of people don't even get flares unless they're in a certain type of environment.
Hmm. So when so that's very interesting. So this is like stress triggers then, or
Stress, good, bad, or ugly, stress does trigger it.
hmm.
Stress is a big trigger factor.
Wow. No, so and I'm just going to go along a couple other things. Then is it maybe how we eat? Foods that we eat, or not
You
getting
know,
enough.
no one really likes to say that it's the foods that we eat because they like what they like.
Right, right, right. Let's keep that real.
Yes.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, the doctors are even coming out even more so, with gut health and everything else. Everything is starting to revolve around what we intake into our body. You are what you eat,
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
And all the chemicals and stuff that they actually put in the foods,
Mm.
you got to keep that in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people get upset because they was like, people tell them, well, don't, if you change your eating habits, you'll be okay, you'll be cured. And they get frustrated because it was like there is no known cure that the
Mm-hmm.
doctors have put out there,
Mm-hmm.
FDA have put out there. So that, I hate to say it, but I you follow the money.
Right.
And bottom line is,
Bottom line.
medical systems, even though I will never tell anybody not to take their medication or not to go to the doctor, they're built up to be a revolving door so
Door.
that they can make money.
Mm-hmm.
And they are well educated on the body. They can tell us some things to find out what's going on so that we know how to treat ourselves.
Right.
But like I tell everybody, doctors, by definition, are there to practice. So
True.
if you're willing to open yourself to be practiced on by a doctor, why not take the matters into your own hand to try to do some things for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Because it hits everyone differently, And you can't say that this is good for them, so it must be good for everybody.
True.
What be good for them might not be good for the next person.
True.
Like there's some healthy seasonings and foods that I can't even eat because
Mm.
my body rejects it. But that's
Wow.
me trying to be healthy, but I can't eat all the healthy stuff that they call healthy.
Right.
So we have to look at those type of things and be mindful of that and know what works for your body.
Hmm. And that's very true. I do believe, um, again, from my experience, you have to teeter and walk that fine line of medicine and holistic,
Yes,
or
I,
and that
I truly agree with that actually.
you really do have to find that fine line and balance because at the end of the day, you know your body,
Hmm.
and you know me. I know, look, being that there's certain things I know. If I go sit down right now and I have a piece of cake or something right now, I know tomorrow morning I'm gonna wake up, my eyes gonna be blurry. I don't care, even with the medicine. I don't care. That's what it's just gonna be. And
Right.
you learn these things. So I learned to, if I'm going to cheat, I'll cheat early in the day. Gives me time to either exercise or work to burn it off with my medication that I take, so that when I wake up tomorrow I'm not walking around like, okay, what's that? Oh, that's okay, let me not knock this over. And I'm not walking around like I'm blind. So it's very true. And then it is
It
uh
is.
cutting out those things that I could. Look, I love potatoes, I love french fries. Probably one of the worst things
Yeah.
for me. So you kind of do sweet potato fries, or something, so you do have to teeter, or in all of that good stuff.
That's the perfect word, teeter. Yes, you got to
You
teeter
really
over
do.
that line because you
You,
got to know you.
that
Nobody
really
lives in your body but you, so
well
you
said,
know
sis.
what best.
Yes. So I do want to ask then also, since we're talking about symptoms, are there any symptoms maybe you can share that anyone listening who may not really think they have lupus, or maybe it was like, yeah, try to self health check and they see a few things and they're not sure? Are there any symptoms maybe people should address with their doctor?
So I don't want to put anything out there to just like freak anybody out.
Okay.
But you need to pay attention to low grade fevers. You need
Mm.
to pay attention to fatigue. It is a major, major thing. You're always tired. You get 8 hours of sleep and you wake up tired.
Okay.
Those are the two main things. Like now, excuse me.
No problem. No,
Those are the
understood.
two main
Understood.
things,
Mm-hmm.
that we really have to pay attention to, that my doctor always tells me to pay attention to, is that low grade fever and that the tiredness, the fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's other things and everybody and other people, because lupus. It's hard to find a lupus patient who has lupus and nothing else.
Mm.
So don't let someone just put a title on you for the popular disease
Oh, okay.
and not find out the root issue of what everything that's going on with you.
Hmm.
Because my mother wasn't she was adamant about having lupus on her paperwork, but if they did not pay attention to her or anything, they just would have put her down for heart failure and not
Mm. Loop.
lupus.
Got you.
A lot of people get diagnosed with lupus after they've passed away,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's unfortunate because if they would have found that diagnosis before, it's a possibility.
Possibility. Yep.
You never know. It is a possibility that they could have had a longer life if they
Hmm.
would have known the root issue.
Man, look, I'm just getting hit with all kind of, and this is what I love about doing this and having this. I hope, and I say this a lot on the show. If one person walks away gaining something beneficial and is impactful, or empowers them to do something impactful to make change and reach out, then we've done our job. So I hope anyone, if you're just tuning in, listening, or having the opportunity to watch, go back and listen, to the beginning. And Zuriel has really blessed us with some gems and some knowledge here today. So I want to make sure that you please go back and listen, because we're moving forward, but this stuff is really great. So with that being said, I gotta ask him, because we've talked about it, but we haven't talked about it.
Okay.
So with all this information and education we're talking about today, I'm sorry, wrong question, but this one right here: what is really Gibson Lupus ARC all about? And please give us the whole. the resource and where people can go and what you're doing in the community? Like, give us the whole kit and caboodle.
The website is www.gibsonlupusarc.org. We are a resource. We are rebuilding our data system where people will be able to find organizations, they will be able to find businesses, and they will be able to find doctors that
Mm.
actually cater, not ones that are going to tell you what your body's doing, ones that will actually listen to you. So we are winging those out. This organization is also starting up classes to help people learn how to work out of a hospital bed.
Mm.
Because one of the biggest things when you're in the hospital and you can be there for 3 months, like I was, I came out and I wasn't even sure where I was going to live because I've been in the hospital for 3 months. How do you pay your rent?
Oh,
So
okay.
to make sure you're not a burden on somebody or to make sure you're just doing something for yourself, we encourage people to take these classes, to get involved in the group sessions, to find your niche, to find what you can do with yourself so that you can lessen that stress factor.
Mm.
Remember I said
Mhm.
about good and bad stresses? So lessen that stress factor on you so that you can feel like a productive citizen in society.
Mm.
So these are the things that we're catering to, and of course we have events like we just had our international pageant event where we get people there's from the Philippines, from
Oh, wow.
Africa, from Canada, I mean from all over the United States. We have all kinds of contestants that participate and they really enjoy it. It helps bring people out of their norm of feeling
That's
sick,
awesome.
so we have different events like that throughout the year. So that is who we are. We're here to help people for a day-to-day basis.
And that's awesome. So look, I- I'm going to go ahead and pause for the cause, and we're going to step away and run a quick ad for our sponsors. Who are supporting Two Mics Up, TD3 Insurance, Bubbles and Brews, Philly, Riddick Entertainment, and our sister over at JMI Income Tax. So, ladies and gentlemen, just stay with us for 1 second. We'll be right back after the break. All right, y'all. We back out the breaks. Your man Dame DNYDC hosted the Two Mics Up podcast. We sitting here chopping it up with our sister Zuriel Gibson. She is the CEO and founder of Gibson Lupus ARC. That's ARC. Straight out. And I want to make sure I got this right. Houston, am I correct? We out in Houston, Texas.
We
Yo,
are.
all right. So look, y'all heard it here. Make sure you check the sister out. Check her foundation out. Do what you can. If you got family in the area, yeah, man, have them check her out, man, and give some support because I want to lead off really in asking, everything that you're doing in the community, where do you see, Zuriel Gibson ARC, let's say in the next 5 years, where do you see your foundation and your organization moving towards in the community in the next 5 years?
Growing growing to the number of people that we get an opportunity to help. That's really the goal.
Mm,
We start there, we're going to continue there, we're going to finish there. Hopefully we'll never finish. Hopefully this will
right.
go on from generation to generation, making sure that people know how to live on a day-to-day basis until the cure comes.
Mm,
Having more events where we can have more patients coming out saying that they're doing well, their lupus is dormant, or they've been cured from lupus.
mm.
That's what I see in the next 5 years.
And 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 because of what you're doing, it really evolves and centers around a lot of the community and the community being involved. You know, how does that network and how has that networking been for you there in Houston? And I asked that only because so I know a lot of it, if it's similar to a lot of organizations where you're working from your home base. But how can, let's say, if someone like myself who's in the DMV or in New York, or we've got people over in the UK that follow and watch along, how can they get involved and continue to help and support your mission?
Like I said, we are international. I work out of my home, but everything I do is online for the most part, except for the
Awesome.
events. So there are organizations everywhere, for
Mm,
all over the world, as well as doing here in the United States. So being where you are and wanting to support the cause, having us helping us raise funds so that we can get the word out there about lupus and how to live on a day-to-day basis will be absolutely amazing. Telling other organizations that, hey, get on board with this database, help out where people be able to find you, they'll be able to donate and volunteer to you no matter where you are in the world. People need to know where you are and what you do and how you do it so that
mm,
they don't feel alone.
mm. That right there, we're gonna put a period on that one right there, because that was very well said, sis. I think you summed it all up in a nutshell. And while you were talking, and I was thinking about it, and I don't know why this just jumped out to me with the pandemic going on, and it's really a two-part question too. We talk about the pandemic going on, and I want to ask about where we are in the cure process, because I know you had mentioned earlier there isn't a cure. But with the pandemic, how has it been more difficult uh, maneuvering for you or someone with lupus uh, because it's an autoimmune
Well,
deficiency?
I laugh because majority of the stuff that we do anyway.
Okay.
So the pandemic was just like, well, okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
The rest of us had to play catch up.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of us were already wiping down seats in the air on an airplane and keeping your mask on and having your gloves and your sanitizer. Majority of the stuff that they were saying do, a lot of us lupus patients was like, uh, there's nothing different as
Right,
far as my life is concerned.
right,
So we weren't really, it didn't really maneuver us well, other than making sure that, being more secure with the people that come around us, making sure that,
right.
that they didn't have anything, and they understand, even helping them understand even more so now. Yeah, you could have gotten me sick and killed me before, but
Before,
really now,
yeah,
now
yeah.
you see some things happening. So
Right. Now you get it. And that's why I don't know why, like, I just thought, like, we talking autoimmune, and now here we come in with this Delta variant. Now we Delta plus plus and everything going on. I'm like, wait a minute. But you're right, because like I say, to you guys, it's natural. Like, oh, you guys, y'all just now catching up. You just now catching on to what I've been telling you. Okay, so that again, ignorance is blind, and this is why I'm glad we can have these conversations, because somebody else was probably just as ignorant as I was with that question. But hey, look, I had to ask it.
well, it was really funny because I was watching something on Instagram and one of these stories passed by because 2020 we were on lockdown,
Right.
and most of us who barely go anywhere anyway was like, "This is lockdown." So,
Yeah,
okay.
it's normal. This is no every normal day stuff.
Yes, I mean it was nothing to me.
Yeah.
I order
See.
groceries anyway.
But
It's
by
like
time,
I never really wanted to go anywhere. My TV is fine.
and I
Between
get
my
it.
TV and my books and whatever I got going on in my house, I'm well content. So it
I
wasn't
get
a
it.
real lockdown for a lot of us.
And you're right. So that's awesome. So again, those of you who may be watching this thinking, "Dame, you a fool." No, you was thinking it, and I'm just the one to ask it. Not a problem. Yeah, I'm just the one to ask it. So before as we're coming towards a close, what I do want to ask is, I think it is important. Um, so there is no cure. But from your experience and your education and what you've been able to acquire, like where is the medical field as it relates to lupus into maybe coming up with some type of cure or something to kind of help those who are dealing with lupus?
So the research itself has not come up with the cure.
Hmm.
No, nothing known.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at what's playing around it and how to take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
with the gut, with leaky gut, and because with leaky gut comes so many different things,
Hmm.
and it depends on the person and what you need to do for your physical body, because
Understood.
people have had stories where they feel as if they were cured from lupus.
Hmm.
People have had stories where they say lupus is dormant. They haven't, I mean, had no symptoms for like 5 years or so. So
Okay.
it depends on the person and what you're willing to do for your own self, as far as changing your diet and understanding what's going into the food that you intake.
Hmm.
Even the stuff they call healthy.
Right.
You can be gluten sensitive, and that could
Yeah.
be doing something to your body. Maybe not right away, but eventually causing a flare up. You never know.
Wow.
You
Wow.
have to do the research on your own body to know what works for you and what doesn't.
Man, I'm at a loss for words. I pray, that this is something that we help bring to light, continue to shed light on, uh, for those in the lupus community that are struggling and dealing with this day to day. Prayers, and I hope that at some point medicine will be able to provide some type of relief for those who have to deal with this struggle. But I do want to ask, as we close out on this great conversation, where, or not even where, what's next for Gibson? Like, what are you have any events on your calendar locally that you can share or talk about, or you any events or anywhere we can find you speaking? Like, what's going on with Zuriel and Gibson Lupus ARC?
Well, the world is just opening up, so am I.
Okay.
So I am putting myself on the platform to be able to go and speak in so many different places. I just don't have anything solidified just yet. We do have a golf tournament coming up, the
Okay.
organization, in May of next year.
Okay.
So if you go to the website, I will keep you updated on any and everything we have going on or coming
Oh,
up.
all right. That's what I'm talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen,
And
and
then look me up. You can
that,
speak. I'll pay. I'll come to you. You need me to speak?
look here. Look, well, I don't think you know, but this is how it work on two mics. Up. Once you on the show, you part of the family. So there will be things that we'll be reaching out and we'll be looking to cross platform and work together. So trust me, that's just kind of what we do around here. But you mentioned the website, so I want to allow you to take a few minutes. Please share your website information again, your social media, where people can find you and donate support wherever you are. Take a few moments to go ahead and share that with everybody before we close out today's show.
So the organization is www.gibson, Gib as in boy, Son, lupus, Lupus, arc, ARC.org. Or if you just want to reach out to me, I do teach. I'm a coach and I'm a speaker, a keynote speaker, and a lupus advocate, of course, a survivor. You can also reach out at www.zuriel, Gibson.com.
All right, and you got it. And I tried to make sure that we got that information up. I'm going to go ahead and put it there one more time. The website for everyone to go ahead and follow Gibson Lupus Art, Zuriel Gibson, all her amazing work that she's doing down in the Houston area. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about here on Two Mics Up. You know how we do. We get down with educate, empower, and impact. We want to always leave you better than when you came in. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can always follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com. You can follow us across our social media, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. And if you are watching this today on YouTube, make sure you go ahead down there, you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that bell just above it so that you can be notified of all the newest content coming from Two Mics Up. And like we always do as we close out each and every show, stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.